Hello and happy Friday. I'm Anson, and this week we continue our focus on hope for the future, and specifically the hope that you and I can have because of the promised return of Jesus. As we think about Jesus' return, we're following this framework or pattern in 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, where the Apostle Paul was writing to people who had recently come to believe in Jesus, and they were learning what all that meant for their life and also for their death. And so this is where we're coming this week. Last week we talked about first things of primary importance, things that were fundamental to knowing God. And we saw that receiving the gospel message and sharing life together as a family were some of these first things that are primary when we talk about having a relationship with God that gives us hope for the future. And this week we're shifting to what the Apostle Paul calls other matters. And specifically, they're matters related to pleasing God. And so they're important. They're not unimportant at all, even though they're not first things. They're important second things for us to consider and to be instructed in and to learn from God's word. So things having to do with our purity and holiness, with our love for one another, with our work ethic. And also, as we think about not only our lives, but one of the realities of life is that all of us is going to pass at some point. So death is a reality of life. How we think about death and grief and all of the things surrounding the passing of loved ones is a matter in this category of how to please God. So our hope for the future relative to death is an area for us to think about. And specifically in the context, there were these early believers who we're wrestling with what does it mean that Jesus is going to return? And what does that mean for my loved ones who have passed away? Presumably, what does that mean for me when I pass away? And Paul assures them, he comforts them with a message about the promised return of Jesus that could happen at any moment. And so he reassures them, he encourages them, and we can learn some things about the return of Jesus. So I'm excited to share this on Sunday. It opens up some important questions around the timing and nature of Jesus' return and how Christians can have dialogue around those things, some things that Christians have been debating for, well, forever, since the early church times when these letters were written. And so we'll touch on some of those things and really see how this emerges to give us hope for not only the way that we live our lives, but in the face of death. Which is one of the realities of life. You and I can have hope for the future, and this is assured of us in God's word. So I'm excited to dig into this together. Hope you'll join us either online or in person. Would love to see you this Sunday. And in the meantime, have a great weekend.